Imagine a soldier, trained to conquer and obey without question, stepping onto foreign soil expecting weakness, and instead finding overwhelming abundance, prosperity, and freedom. This is not a story of battles fought on the front lines, but of a war waged on minds, beliefs, and hearts. This is the story of how German POWs in America were defeated, not by bullets, but by abundance. When German soldiers from the Afrika Korps arrived in the United States in 1943, they expected a land weakened by war, a country fractured and struggling under the weight of global conflict. What they encountered was something entirely different. They were met with a society brimming with industrial power, thriving communities, and a sense of purpose that both bewildered and inspired them. For these men, used to scarcity and the rigid hierarchy of the Wehrmacht, the scale of American abundance was unimaginable. Factories producing thousands of aircraft, vehicles, and munitions each month. Farms larger than entire German provinces, and cities illuminated even in wartime blackouts. All of this challenged their preconceived notions of the enemy and the world. As they were transported to over 500 POW camps scattered across the United States, these soldiers began to witness a society fundamentally different from the one they had fought against. Life in the camps was strict but humane. They were provided with sufficient food, medical care, education, and even opportunities to learn English or acquire technical skills. The camps were designed not to punish, but to contain and rehabilitate, and for many of these men, this approach was as disarming as the industrial might they had witnessed. Diaries, letters, and first-hand accounts reveal their astonishment at how ordinary American workers lived better than many European aristocrats, how families thrived despite the war, and how communities offered kindness even to the enemy. The initial shock of American abundance had a profound effect. Soldiers who had been loyal to the Nazi ideology began to question their beliefs when they saw everyday citizens exercising freedoms and rights that were denied in their homeland. From seeing cities lit up even under blackouts to walking through supermarkets filled with a variety of foods, many POWs began to realize that the propaganda they had been fed was incomplete, misleading, or false. Walter Hallstein, one of these former prisoners who later became a European leader, wrote that the experience fundamentally altered his worldview and deepened his commitment to democracy. In the camps, daily routines were structured yet humane. Prisoners were encouraged to participate in recreational activities, play sports, engage in debates, and attend educational programs. Libraries stocked with books on history, science, and democracy became classrooms for prisoners to explore ideas that had been suppressed in Germany. Camp newspapers allowed them to practice writing in English, discuss current events, and even reflect on their past actions. Unlike other wartime detention systems where cruelty and punishment were the norm, American POW camps treated prisoners with dignity. This created a paradox. Men trained for war, indoctrinated with a rigid ideology, began to develop respect and admiration for a society they had been taught to despise. Beyond the structured programs, American POWs experienced the generosity of ordinary citizens. Families invited prisoners to picnics, churches hosted social events, and townspeople shared produce from their farms. The cumulative effect of these encounters was transformative. Prisoners who arrived hardened and suspicious gradually became cooperative, questioning the myths of their former leaders and forming new understandings of democracy, freedom, and humanity. Remarkably, fewer than 0.6% of POWs attempted escape, a testament not only to the security of the camps, but also to the compelling pull of respect, order, and abundance they experienced in their daily lives. Many prisoners of war found work within the camps and nearby communities, contributing to farming, construction, and factory operations. This labor was not forced. It was compensated with small wages and allowed them to interact with American workers, fostering mutual respect. Men who had once been committed to destruction now found themselves learning new skills, developing friendships, and even contemplating how such a system could function in their homeland. Stories from these experiences reveal moments of laughter, competition, and camaraderie that contrasted sharply with the brutality they had known on the battlefield. Perhaps most powerful was the realization of the industrial capacity that enabled America to wage war effectively. Prisoners were often taken on tours of factories producing B-24 bombers, tanks, and other war material. Seeing an aircraft being assembled every hour and a workforce mobilized with precision left them in awe. Soldiers who had fought against seemingly insurmountable odds now witnessed firsthand the scale of American productivity, the coordination between workers, and the advanced technology that fueled the Allied war effort. These tours, intended as educational, also served as a subtle demonstration of power, leaving prisoners with a new understanding of why the Nazi war machine could not prevail. Over time, the psychological transformation became apparent. Diaries reveal men struggling with cognitive dissonance. How could a society they were taught to despise be so efficient, humane, and prosperous? Camp administrators noticed a reduction in hostility, increased cooperation, and engagement in camp programs. Leadership among prisoners shifted from those most loyal to Nazi ideology to those who adapted, learned English, and embraced constructive interaction with American society. This shift would have long-lasting implications, as many former POWs later contributed to rebuilding democratic Germany, advocating for institutions rooted in fairness, efficiency, and respect for human rights. Even after repatriation, the lessons learned in American POW camps endured. Soldiers who returned home often recounted their experiences as pivotal in shaping their post-war perspectives. The abundance, democracy, and dignity they witnessed served as models for reconstruction. Individuals like Walter Hallstein and others went on to assume leadership roles in Europe, using their experiences to influence policy, governance, and international cooperation. The unintended victory of America's humane treatment of enemies demonstrated that power was not only measured in tanks and planes, but also in the to transform hearts and minds. By the end of the war, the story of German POWs in America had become one of the most successful re-education programs in modern history. It was a silent victory, won not on the battlefield, but in the everyday interactions between captors and captives, between abundance and ideology, between respect and indoctrination. The prisoners left with more than freedom. They left with a new perspective on governance, human dignity, and the possibilities of a world built not on fear, but on collaboration and prosperity. America's ability to turn enemies into allies through humane treatment and demonstration of abundance stands as a testament to the power of ideas over force. This remarkable chapter in World War II history reminds us that sometimes the greatest victories are those won quietly in hearts and minds, reshaping the future in ways no battlefield could achieve. In the end, these POWs returned home, not as soldiers of hate, but as witnesses to a society that had shown them the potential of freedom, democracy, and abundance. And through them, the seeds of a rebuilt, democratic Germany was sown.